All right, hello everybody. Today I've got something that's been on my mind for a little while, and I figured it might make sense to make a short video about it. I probably will work it into an essay eventually, but I was thinking about Locke, and obviously I think that Locke got some things wrong in his discourses, or not discourses, I mean two treatises of government, right? But had a brain fart there, But there's a line right near the end that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and how it applies to modern day in a way that I think a lot of people aren't actually cognizant of. So let's start with the quote. "Where there is no judicature on earth to decide controversies amongst men, God in heaven is judge. He alone, it is true, is judge of the right. But every man is judge for himself, as in all other cases. So in this, whether another hath put himself into a state of war with him, and whether he should appeal to the supreme judge, as Jephthah did." Now, what Locke is getting at there is that in the case of things getting very bad, you personally can't stop someone else from having the perspective that you are at war with them. Certainly there will always be a certain number of crazy people that see, persecution where none exists. But what we've seen recently is a lot of, let's call them declarations, by American politicians. I'm thinking of people like Randy Fine and Lindsey Graham, and there are probably other examples, but stick with me here for a second. When these people go forward and put out these declarations, or even not just declarations, but just show callousness about like collateral damage, saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter how many of these people we kill, we don't really care about that. The only thing that matters is blah 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 blah." When they say things like this, what they're doing is they're effectively, from the perspective of someone, say, in the Middle East, what they're doing is they are declaring war. Or at least they're saying, you may consider me at war with you, right? And so the thing is that these politicians believe that no one that they care about will ever be negatively affected by any of the wars that they support. After all, they live in safe, sanitized, usually closed, gated communities with lots and lots of security. However, something that I think people need to keep more in mind, even people who might agree with them on some level, is that their declarations, their callousness, what they're basically doing is blowback farming. What they want and what they expect to happen are negative consequences, but not for them. For you, actually. They want something to happen to you so that they will have another reason to demand more wars. That's basically what's happening there. Because they know full well that their behavior, the fact that they represent Americans, or the American people, and it's worth noting that someone in the Middle East might not care to make the distinction that, Lindsey Graham only represents the people of South Carolina, or Randy Fine only represents the people of this particular small chunk of Florida, right? To someone outside of America, they represent all Americans equally. And what that can do is it can convince others to believe that they are at war with the American people, and then to seek to reach out and touch us. I mean, it's important to remember, and I think people forget about this, or at least don't think this through, but it doesn't matter so much where you draw the line between freedom fighter and terrorist. It matters more where the prospective freedom fighter / terrorist draws that line, right? wars aren't fought anymore with two groups of men standing in line and taking pot shots at each other until one surrenders, right? The insane rhetoric that we're getting from these people like Fine or Graham, what it actually does is it puts Americans in danger. And as long as those people hold posts in government, that danger will not touch them, but it is way more likely to touch you or someone you care about. I think they're counting on it, honestly, because they would love another tragedy to, call for more tragedies upon the top of. I don't know. This is one of those things where Locke actually gets something right. It's not up to you whether someone else believes they're at war with you. It's up to them. And if you make these declarations without the intention of backing them up, if you make these declarations in a glib way, or if you say things that make people think that you're an inhuman monster, then you might find other people halfway across the world thinking about ways to get to you. And when I say you, I mean, not Randy Fine, not Lindsey Graham. No one's likely to actually go after them and have any success, but more like regular people in America are likely to face whatever negative consequences happen as a result of their careless rhetoric. Anyway, didn't want to make this too long of a video. I might make this into an essay or an article later, but I just wanted to get it off my chest. Like, seeing people in positions of political power making these declarations are not just declarations. They don't go off into the ether and just vanish. What they are, for people against whom they are applied, are invitations. And I think a lot of people are not cognizant of that and how it might affect them somewhere down the line. And of course, people like Graham and Fine don't care because they're not likely to actually face any real consequences for what they say. It's more the people that they represent that are going to face those consequences. So that's all I've got for today. Obviously not something that I hope you enjoyed, but I hope you found it thought-provoking at least. It's one of the things that I think people just aren't paying enough attention to. They get behind being on a particular side of a thing, and they don't realize that what the people who are up at the top are doing is making them more vulnerable, not less vulnerable. So with that, I'll say thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I don't know. It's not a great realization, I guess. Not a great thought, but there it is. Anyway, I'll probably be working on Rousseau. I'm going to try to do Rousseau's social contract next for critiques. If I come up with any other video ideas, I'll post videos. So have a good start of your week, and I will see you next time.